Have you ever caught yourself saying things in your own head that you'd never say to someone else? You forget something small, and suddenly the voice inside says, "Wow, you're so stupid." Or you mess up at work and it's, "Of course you failed. You always do." That inner critic feels like it's keeping you in check. But here's the truth: harsh self judgment doesn't build discipline, it destroys confidence. And without confidence, growth becomes almost impossible. Here's the good news: you don't need to silence your inner critic, you need to restrain it. You need to learn how to take mistakes, failures, and feedback and turn them into fuel instead of poison. That's exactly what we're diving into today. Because when you learn to critique yourself the right way, every mistake becomes a stepping stone. Every failure becomes a wisdom, and every challenge becomes a chance to grow stronger. So, let's break this down together, step by step, starting with the danger of harsh self judgment. Chapter 1: The Danger of Harsh Self Judgment. Think about the way you talk to yourself after a mistake. Would you ever speak to a friend that way? Probably not. And yet, when it comes to ourselves, the voice is often ruthless. "You're not good enough. You'll never get this right. Why do you even try?" At first glance, this inner critic might seem useful. It feels like it's pushing us to improve, keeping us from being lazy, holding us accountable. But here's the catch: harsh self judgment doesn't push us forward, it holds us back. Imagine a teacher who humiliates every mistake you make, pointing out flaws with no encouragement. Over time, you'd stop raising your hand, you'd stop taking risks, you'd play it safe to avoid the shame. That's exactly what harsh self talk does inside your own head. It trains you to avoid challenge instead of embracing it. It turns mistakes into threats instead of lessons. And the more we repeat that negative voice, the more it shapes how we see ourselves. Instead of thinking, "I messed up this time," we start believing, "I'm the kind of person who always messes up." That shift is dangerous because once your identity gets tied to your mistakes, confidence disappears. You're no longer just correcting errors, you're constantly defending yourself from your own criticism. So here's the truth: the danger of harsh self judgment isn't just the sting of negative words, it's the cycle it creates. You fail, you criticize, you lose confidence, and then you stop trying. Breaking that cycle starts with awareness. Before we can change the way we talk to ourselves, we first have to notice how cruel that inner voice has become. And that's where the journey really begins. By learning the difference between destructive criticism and constructive criticism. Chapter 2: Constructive versus Destructive Criticism. Not all self criticism is bad. In fact, some of it is absolutely essential for growth. The problem isn't criticism itself, it's how we do it. Think about it this way: there are two voices inside your head. One is the destroyer, the other is the builder. The destroyer says things like, "You're useless. You'll never get better. Why even try?" It tears down your confidence, leaving nothing but shame. That's destructive criticism, and it's the reason so many people give up on themselves too soon. Now, let's meet the builder. builder's voice sounds different. It says, "You didn't get it right this time, but here's what you can learn. That wasn't your best work, but you're capable of doing better next round. This didn't go how you planned, but now you know how to approach it differently." That's constructive criticism. Notice the difference? One attacks who you are, the other focuses on what you did and how to improve it. Here's an analogy. Imagine you're learning how to cook. You burn the dish. The destructive critic throws the pan across the room and says, "You're a terrible cook. Never try again." The constructive critic says, "That was too much heat. Next time, lower the flame." Same mistake, completely different outcome. And here's the key. Constructive self-criticism is specific, actionable, and rooted in growth. Destructive self-criticism is vague, harsh, and rooted in shame. Think about your own inner dialogue. Which voice do you hear more often? The destroyer or the builder? Quick reflection. The next time you catch yourself in self-criticism, pause and ask, is this voice helping me grow? Or is it just beating me down? If it's the destroyer, flip the script. Turn the vague insult into a specific observation. Instead of, "I'm terrible at this," try, "I struggled here. What can I try differently next time?" This tiny shift turns mistakes into opportunities instead of roadblocks. And once you master that, you unlock the next step, seeing mistakes not as proof of failure, but as lessons that shape your growth. Chapter 3: Turning Mistakes into Lessons. Here's a truth we often forget. Mistakes aren't proof that you're failing. They're the raw material of growth. Think about a toddler learning to walk. They fall a lot, but no one looks at them and says, "You're terrible at walking. You'll never get this." We clap, we encourage, and eventually they figure it out. So why do we treat ourselves differently when we stumble? Most of us see mistakes as verdicts. I failed, therefore I'm not good enough. But in reality, mistakes are feedback. They're information. They're clues about what didn't work and where to go next. Here's an example. Thomas Edison famously said, "I haven't failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that don't work." That mindset, viewing mistakes as experiments instead of failures, is what led him to invention after invention. Now, let's bring this down to something simple. Imagine you give a presentation at work and it doesn't land. The destructive critic says, "You're terrible at public speaking." The constructive perspective says, "Okay, I spoke too fast and I didn't make eye contact. Next time, I'll slow down and connect more with the audience." Same mistake. Two completely different lessons. Here's a quick way to practice this shift. Every time you catch yourself thinking, "I failed," add the word "yet." I didn't get it right yet. That single word transforms the experience from an ending into a process. Another tool, the 3-question reflection. After a mistake, ask yourself, 1. What actually happened? Facts, not emotions. 2. What can I learn from this? 3. How can I apply that next time? By asking these, you move from shame to strategy. And the more you do it, the faster mistakes turn into momentum. Because here's the reality: the people you admire most, the ones who seem confident and skilled, they've made more mistakes than you. The difference is they turn those mistakes into lessons instead of letting them turn into limits. So the next time you mess up, and you will, because we all do, don't see it as a dead end. See it as a stepping stone. Every stumble is a signal pointing toward growth. And speaking of growth, that's exactly where we're headed next: how self reflection builds a growth mindset. Chapter 4: Building Growth Mindsets Through Self Reflection. Here's a simple truth: the way you think about your mistakes often matters more than the mistake itself. Some people see failure as proof that they're not good enough, others see it as evidence that they're growing. That difference, it's called a growth mindset, and it's built through self reflection. Self reflection isn't just replaying events in your head, it's about asking the right questions. Instead of, why am I so bad at this? A growth mindset asks, what can I learn from this? Here's the shift: a fixed mindset says, I failed, therefore I am a failure. A growth mindset says, I failed, therefore I'm learning. Think of it like a mirror. In a fixed mindset, the mirror only shows flaws. You see the crack, the scratch, the imperfection. In a growth mindset, the mirror shows possibilities. You see where you are now and who you can become. Here's a practical tool you can try tonight: the reflection journal. At the end of the day, write down one challenge you faced. Then ask yourself three things. 1. What did I learn from this? 2. How did it shape me? 3. How will I use it next time? This doesn't just track your progress, it rewires your brain. Over time, you stop seeing mistakes as threats and start seeing them as training. And here's the science: studies show that when people adopt a growth mindset, their brains literally change. They form new neural pathways faster, recover from setbacks quicker, and stay motivated longer. But it's not just about achievement. A growth mindset also makes life lighter. Instead of carrying shame for every misstep, you carry curiosity. Instead of dreading mistakes, you welcome them as teachers. Quick check in: what's one mistake you've been carrying like a burden? Imagine, for a moment, reframing it as a lesson. What did it show you about yourself? How might it be shaping who you're becoming? That's the heart of a growth mindset: transforming reflection into resilience. And once you begin to practice this regularly, something powerful happens. You learn how to balance two seemingly opposite forces: self acceptance and self improvement. That's where we're headed next. Chapter 5: Balancing Self Acceptance and Improvement. Here's a paradox that trips a lot of people up. How do you accept yourself as you are, while also wanting to get better? Most people think it's one or the other. Either you love yourself so much you stop trying to improve, or you're so focused on improving that you never feel good enough. But the truth? Real confidence comes from holding both at the same time. Think of it like this: self acceptance is the foundation. It says, I am worthy as I am. Self improvement is the growth. It says, I can keep learning and evolving. Without acceptance, improvement feels like punishment. You're always fixing yourself because you secretly believe you're broken. Without improvement, acceptance can turn into complacency. You stay stuck because you believe nothing needs to change. Balance happens when you can say, I am enough today, and I can be more tomorrow. Here's a simple analogy. Imagine a tree. Acceptance is the roots. It grounds you, keeps you steady, nourished, safe. Improvement is the branches. They reach higher, stretch further, grow toward the light. Without roots, the tree collapses. Without branches, it never grows. You need both. So, how do you practice this balance in real life? Start with self compassion. When you mess up, talk to yourself like a coach, not a critic. Coaches encourage, critics tear down. Then, set growth goals. Not, I'll be perfect, but I'll practice, I'll improve, I'll show up. Quick check in. What's one area of your life where you've been too hard on yourself? Now imagine shifting the script. Instead of beating yourself up, could you both accept where you are and commit to a next step? Because here's the secret: self acceptance doesn't kill ambition, it fuels it. When you believe you're already enough, you're free to grow from a place of curiosity, not fear. And that's the mindset that lets you walk away from mistakes, challenges, and criticism, not weaker, but stronger, which is exactly what we'll explore in the final chapter. Chapter 6: Walking Away Stronger. Every time, here's the truth: no matter how much you grow, you'll still face criticism from others, from yourself, from life itself. The question isn't, how do I avoid it? The question is, how do I use it? Every stumble, every mistake, every harsh word can either chip away at you or build you up. The difference is what you choose to do with it. Think of a blacksmith. They don't throw away the metal just because it's rough. They put it into the fire, shape it, hammer it, refine it, until it becomes something strong, sharp, and useful. Criticism and mistakes are your fire and hammer. Painful, yes, but also powerful. Walking away stronger means you stop seeing setbacks as verdicts and start seeing them as training. Instead of saying, this proves I'm not good enough, you say, this is how I get better. Here's how to practice it. 1. Pause before reacting. Instead of letting shame or anger take over, breathe. Step back. 2. Extract the lesson. Ask, what part of this is useful? Even one small insight makes the experience worth it. 3. Leave the rest. If criticism is cruel or irrelevant, don't carry it. You don't need every hammer swing to shape you. And here's the mindset shift. Every time you walk through criticism, you don't just survive, you level up. Your confidence grows, not because you avoided pain, but because you proved you could face it, learn from it, and keep moving. So the next time you hear that inner critic or someone else's harsh words, remember, this is raw material. This is fuel. This is your chance to walk away, not smaller, but stronger. Because self awareness, compassion, and resilience aren't about avoiding the tough parts of life. They're about using them to become unshakable. And that's the power of learning to criticize yourself without destroying your confidence. You stop breaking yourself down and start building yourself up. One lesson, one choice, one step at a time.